Hey guys, welcome to my Samoan language instruction on the descriptive pronouns sentence structure with the new tense marker te. As you learned in the last video, descriptive pronouns precede the predicate. The pattern is as such. So you could have learned it this way, tense marker, subject, verb, or you could have learned it the way that I like to learn or use is tense marker, doer, action. But both of these expressions are just simplified versions of the actual sentence structure being the tense marker, the subject slash doer, predicate phrase, etc. So the top is just helpful for you to remember the sentence structure, but the actual sentence structure is what's highlighted at the bottom. And these are two principles that you learned from the last video. If you're having any troubles with this principle, I encourage you to go back to that now. Okay, so this sentence structure holds true to every tense except when using the non-past tense marker e. Okay, so when I want to use the non-past tense marker or the habitual tense marker a, okay, I can't use this sentence structure. What happens is I change that and I also modify the sentence structure. So hopefully this makes sense as I explain here. Although the principle stays the same, I'm reading here, although the principle stays the same, the non-past tense marker a changes to te when using descriptive pronouns. Okay, so the most important part of this video is this right here. Changes to te. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Here we go. Okay, so the non-past tense marker a changes to te when using descriptive pronouns. So I can still use the same principle as the habitual tense marker a. I just can't use it in the same form when I have descriptive pronouns. When I want to use descriptive pronouns, I switch that habitual tense marker a, or the non-past tense marker a, to te. Okay? And the reason why I think that they do this is because our new pronoun for you, okay, this is most likely because the descriptive version of you is a. Okay, if you've noted and you've memorized the descriptive pronouns, you've noted that the version of you for the descriptive pronouns is this last thing right here, a. Okay? And if you've noted that this right here and the old tense marker that we used with the emphatic pronouns, they look very similar. And if you put the two together, it would be pretty confusing. So note the contrast of the two sentences that I have below. So if I wanted to say, are you hungry? And I just use the traditional habitual tense marker a, and I wanted to use the new tense or the new pronoun a, then it would sound like this. It would sound like a fia I. And that sounds, to them it sounds confusing or it's a little bit off, okay? So what they did is they changed it. The correct way that you would say it is are you hungry is a te fia I. Okay, you can distinguish the difference between the two a lot easier, especially when they say it fast, especially as fast as natives speak. So this is the you and the new tense marker is te. And so you'll note that I have an asterisk right here on this sentence, and that asterisk is basically just saying a different sentence structure is required when using te. So in the last video we learned how to use our descriptive sentence structure with every tense marker besides the habitual tense marker. And that was what we learned on the first slide. So my first slide is, or sorry, this slide right here is true for every tense except when I want to use the habitual or non-past tense marker. But when I want to use that, instead of using the old version that we used in the emphatic, this a right here, we now use te, okay? We now use te. And that te switches up the sentence structure a little bit. So on this slide, we learned the new sentence structure. So usage of the new tense marker te changes the descriptive sentence structure from, so this is the old version, or every tense besides the habitual or non-past tense. And if I want to use the habitual or non-past tense, it changes to this. It changes to the descriptive pronoun going first, and then te, and then the predicate phrase, and etc. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm just switching the tense marker. When I'm using te, I'm switching I'm switching the tense marker to this slot, and the descriptive pronoun goes first, and that becomes this. So it's not a huge switch. You don't have to worry too much. It's just a very small change. It's not like something that you have to memorize or put a lot of effort into remembering. Just remember that my te goes second in the order instead of first. Okay? So for example, here's some example sentences here at the bottom. So let's say we are going to Samoa tomorrow. That would sound like Ma te o I Samoa taiao. So notice my ma right here, it could be an and, but in this case, it's a descriptive pronoun. And the reason why you know that is it's because it's following this sentence structure right here. The descriptive pronoun goes first, then te. And that helps you realize that that ma is for we two exclusive people are going to Samoa tomorrow. Okay, the next example sentence that I give you, Lato te talitonu ile tusi paia. So again, I have my descriptive pronoun going first, then te, and then my predicate phrase, which is usually in action, and then my what happens next in this sentence is a prepositional phrase. Then my last, I work at the bank, sounds like o te whaingaloenga ile fale tusi. Okay, so these are some example sentences, and just a quick reiteration from the last video. When I use descriptive pronouns as doers or the subject, I am emphasizing the description or the action taking place. So this is something that you'll probably use a little bit more often than the emphatic pronouns, at least for the subject. Okay, so if I'm trying to use pronouns for a subject, I'll usually use my descriptive pronouns a little bit more. But remember, emphatic pronouns can be used for special emphasis on the subject or the person doing the action, as well as any other part of the sentence structure. Okay, moving on, I'm going to give you some sentences. So I want you, the first few sentences here, I want you to go from Samoan to English. And if you can understand these, then you're starting to definitely improve. So I would like you to go through these, and the one that I think that you don't know is this ailonga. So that one I'm going to give you, that one's doubt. So this just means doubt, okay, doubt. Okay? But other than that, I think you should be able to get all of these. If not, then you need a little bit of a review. Just tackle the stuff that you do know, and then you'll know the kind of stuff that you need to work on. So, okay, so pause the video and try translating these sentences. So if you translated them right, your sentences should sound something like what I put on the left. So if I wanted to say this first sentence right here, O te leifia tapenaina lepotu moi. Okay, if I wanted to say that, it would mean something like, I don't want to tidy up the bedroom. Okay? And do you want to wake up your spouse each day would be pe e te whafangu lau toa lua I taiau umalava. And they are not patient with hard things. Lato te leonasai I mea whaingata. Okay? Do you two keep the commandments of God? And this would be pe lua te tausia poloainga alea tua. And this last one, I doubt we too will go to the conference tomorrow. And this is like you and I going to the conference. This is an inclusive we. So, ailonga ta te o I le konafesi taiao. Okay? So hopefully you were able to get those. If you weren't, I encourage you to find the parts that you weren't able to get and memorize those and work on, okay, so I wasn't able to get this part right. What did I do wrong, and what could I have done a little bit differently to have made this, okay? To made this correct, okay? So moving on, now I would like you to go from the English version to the Samoan version. So I encourage you to pause the video at this point and to translate these. Okay, so if you got these right, your sentences would sound something like this. The first sentence I didn't specify, so you could have used mato, tato, ma, and ta. Those would have been applicable too. But this, I just decided mato is we exclusive 3+. So mato te to'otatuli. So this part right here, honestly, if you just said to'otuli, and you should have learned this earlier on in the course, but this is a good review that if you weren't able to get it. To'otuli is the singular version of this, and the plural version of it is to'otatuli, the highlighted part. So since more than one person is kneeling down, it's to'otatuli. But if you just said this to'otuli, then they would have understood. It just wouldn't be 100% grammatically correct. But that's not what we want to get at the beginning. We just want to be understandable. We want to be able to communicate. So if you just said to'utuli, keep doing that until you start feeling a little bit more confident, okay? And now that I've explained it to you, then start using to'utuli whenever there's more than one person. But then you'll start making these same kind of connections on your own. You're like, okay, well, they said it a little bit differently than I say it. Why did they say it that way? Oh, that's right. It's a plural verb or adjective, so I need to add on something to it to make it accept its subject. Okay? So moving on to our next sentence, I did clarify, we too read often in the book, but I didn't clarify if it was inclusive or exclusive. So you could have said ma here, ma or ta, either one, but the rest of the sentence would have been ma te fai tau so'o ile tusi paia. And if you would have left everything out besides so'o, I would have been extremely happy. It just means we read in the Bible. But this so'o right here is just often, and I might not have taught you that. I don't think I did. So so'o means often, okay? I'll just write that out really quick. Often. Okay, so just remember that so'o means often after a verb. In other cases, when it's not closely linked to a verb, then it can also mean some other things. We can get into that at another time. So, you 3+ work at the store is our next sentence. And if you said something like this one, you would have to have the exact pronoun to get it correct. So, to is you 3+ or you all, one of the two. So to te whaingaroenga I le whale o loa. So remember the pattern. So in this pattern, I have my pronoun that goes first, my descriptive pronoun, and then te. That's always the pattern. So remember that when you use descriptive pronouns, at least in the normal usage, you'll have a descriptive pronoun that goes first, then te, and then an action of some sort. When we use sentences that don't have actions and things like that, which we will be talking about in our next video, it'll be a little bit different, but the principle remains the same. So they 3+ are not active in church, okay? So this would be lato te le toa anga I le lotu, and again, this verb right here would just, if you're just saying it's in the singular version of it, would just be toanga. You don't have the toa anga, okay? So if you said this verb, I would be extremely impressed, and you would be understandable, okay? So moving on to our next sentence, we are worried about you and your car. I didn't really explain this one, but we are worried about your car. This is probably not like including the person that you're talking to. You're probably saying exclusively like our family is worried about you, or me and my friends are worried about you and your car. So that would probably be an exclusive version of we, so it'd be mato te papole ya te oe malau ta avale. So hopefully you said something close to that, if not that. Moving on, you don't like his thought, and e te le fia fia ilona manatu, okay? So, and I apologize, this his right here, this is a possessive pronoun. We haven't worked on those yet, but that in this sentence is lona, and we will work on that in the future. We just need to learn a couple more principles before we can move on to possessive pronouns. Okay, so I hope this video helped, and I hope that you are able to work on these sentences. If you're not working on the sentences, then I don't think you're going to learn as much as if you were working on these sentences on your own. And it's good to know that when you're working on these sentences, that you have someone to kind of explain it to you afterwards, or you have the answer there readily available. All you just got to do is watch the video a little bit more. So I hope you're taking advantage of these example sentences and starting to try to think of putting your own sentences together and these sentences that I give you, because this is how the language is. You need to be able to put things together in the right format and in the right way and things like that. And so hopefully you're taking the principles that we're learning in these videos and applying them to your Samoan language study. So I encourage you to continue watching these videos, as well as to try to put together your own sentences. And until next time, guys, tofa soifua.